Okay, let's start. I'm happy to introduce our friend and colleague, Giuseppe Attanasi. He's professor in economics at the Université Cote, and is also the co-coordinator of the Cognition and Complexity Experimental COCO Lab. Giuseppe is going to give a talk titled Guilt in New Games, the Role of Vulnerability, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Julia, for this invitation, and Andrea for organizing this seminar. So, what I would like to talk today is about, first of all, the difference between belief-dependent motivations and non-belief-dependent motivation, like the normative preferences. Okay. First of all, because Luca and Julia have written several papers about that, and especially one about guilt aversion. And I would like to discuss with you whether belief-dependent preferences and normative preferences are robust to variation in the strategic structure of the game. So basically, the idea of this paper is to manipulate a little bit the payoff of a very simple game, that is the investment or trust game, and see whether people perceiving guilt, they change in their fraction according to different versions of the game. Okay? So let me first of all recall what is guilt aversion according to the belief-dependent motivation. Okay, so there are people that are guilt averse because they think that you should behave in a specific way according to a specific situation. Okay, because there is a norm, and then not following this norm make you guilt averse. Okay, and then there is this new definition about guilt aversion that is taken from a psychological theory, especially from Tangney, that says that guilt aversion depends on your expectations about another player expectation. Okay, so if you think that someone expects you to trust or to share, okay, and you don't do it, then you feel guilt averse. So it's a kind of ex ante feeling. In order to avoid this belief-dependent feeling, okay, you're trying to make a different action with respect to the case in which you don't take this feeling. So just to make an example, suppose that I know Andrea since several years now, and then I expect him expecting me cooperating with him. Okay? And so maybe I'm going to cooperate because I'm a guilt-averse person. Okay? Well, instead I know Stefano since less years, okay, and I think that he believes me not being a cooperator, and so I'm not going to cooperate. Okay, so according to different players I'm going to play with, okay, I'm going to play a different game, not because of their idiosyncratic features, okay, but because I think they have different expectations about me. Okay, so while the normative definition of guilt aversion follows a general rule, okay, so I feel guilt because I don't cooperate when you should. Okay, the belief-dependent motivation makes you change your behavior according to different expectations of the other player about you. Okay, so the standard modeling is quite complicated, okay, for a very simple reason. Actually, this theory is called psychological game theory, but it's just a fashion name to make it more appealing, okay, but the way in which it's defined in the literature is belief-dependent games, okay? And why not belief-dependent? So let me just go through some technicalities, okay? So you have a game, okay? A game with material payoff, okay? A game with money, standard games, okay? Then you have Z is the final node of the game, so it's a terminal history. Okay, so suppose that Andrea is going to trust me, and then I'm going to make a choice like cooperating with him or not. Okay. So basically, usually what you have in traditional game theory is that the final payoff pi of a player just depends on the actions, the pair of strategies of the two players. Okay, so for example, he decides to trust me, I decide to cooperate. Okay. Then you have all this part that in general we call social preference. Okay. And social preferences are usually made of two components, okay? One component defines the rules. In this case, the rule is 0. And the second component is an exogenous component that is an idiosyncratic parameter that is different according to different persons, okay? So the rule here is people should feel guilt, okay? And basically, the parameter is Stefano has a theta that is 2, Andrea has a theta that is 1, Luca has a theta that is 0, which is not sensitive, okay, and then a theta that is 0.5. Now, the novelty of this modeling is that inside the rule, you have a belief-dependent rule, okay? In particular, you have something like this. So this part is given by the difference between what you think the other expects you to give him and how much you give him, okay? So if you give the other player more than you think he expects, then you don't feel guilty, okay? Because it's the maximum between 0. If this is negative, it means that you give him more. So you don't feel guilty at all, okay? Well, instead, if you give it less, then you're going to feel guilty, and this theta, okay, identifies how much you're sensitive to this fee, okay? Now, this is the same kind of thing that you have with fairness, with inequity aversion, okay? The only difference between distributive preferences and between belief-dependent preferences is that in distributive preference, the rule, the norm, let's call it like that, okay, does not depend on what you think the other think about you, or it doesn't depend on what the other thinks about you, okay? So it's a norm like inequity aversion is very similar to that, you know, because you can say, I don't want to give it the other less than a reference point, for example, okay? Here instead, the reference point is defined according to what you think the other think about you. Now, if you look at the initial paper, I mean, there are several papers about psychological game theory. The reference paper now it's by Battigalli and Dufenberg. The paper is called Dynamic Psychological Games. Okay, they have a restriction in this utility function. Now I come to my paper. Okay, this says that in order for someone to feel let down, to feel disappointed, okay, and for you to feel guilt towards someone, okay, you need this someone to lose a material pair. Okay, let me just make an example. Okay. In order to feel guilty towards Andrea, I have to grab something from him. So you need a monetary reduction in this payoff. Okay? And basically you see what you have here now. This is player I who feels guilty towards player J because he's giving him less with respect to what player J expects with respect to his own payoff. Okay? This is the traditional definition of belief-dependent preferences. Okay? The other expects me giving him something, and I give him less. Okay. So, but basically, what Battigalli and Dufenberg they say in a recent survey that they wrote after our, I mean, when we were working with Marie Claire and Claire Rimbaud on our paper, okay, is that it's not a necessary feature. We did it as a simplifying version, and also because this captures the majority of the situation in which you feel guilty. No, I mean, we are friends with Stefano. We have to share some money, and then you expect me to share. I don't do it, so I feel guilty because I grabbed his money. Okay. So what we do is that, and this is the way in which the paper from which this one is a follow-up stuff. Yes.
Just a clarification.
Yeah.
It isn't the fact that you need to grab his money, right? Even in the standard. It's simply that you get less than it was expected to get, even if you don't get it, right?
Yeah, but
you're suggesting that you're taking.
Yeah. I made an example, but the other should lose some money.
Okay. Even if you don't get it.
Yeah, right. I totally agree. So mine was just an example about a specific form of guilt, but in general, if the other is not affected from a monetary point of view, usually this model does not apply because it is defined on the difference between the payoff the other is expecting the other. Okay, but it's not a necessary feature. Okay, now let me go to the first extension we did about this model. Okay, the extension was made thanks to a paper on which Marie Claire was working when I met her during a conference in Strasbourg 4 years ago, I think. So basically, the idea is very simple. You have the standard investment game. Okay, so usually the investment game it works in the following way: I give the money to you. Okay, then this money are kind of increased, okay, by some factor, and then basically I have to decide how much to give back to you. Okay. Now Marie Claire at that point was exploring another version. It is a very interesting version. I didn't find any other experiment apart the one that Marie Claire was doing in the literature of embezzlement game. This game is called the embezzlement game. And basically, this mimics the way in which you give money to an ONG or to some no-profit organization. Okay, usually what happens is that, so suppose that the recipient is some poor place in Africa, okay? You are here in Europe, so basically what you do is that you give the money to an intermediary, and then this intermediary usually embezzles some of this money. Now, this is the reason why we prefer to fund very small associations that are very close to our place, because we can check whether they embezzle the money or not, okay? While instead funding far or a global ONG is much more difficult. Okay, so the reason why Marie Claire was interested in this problem is because you see that there are plenty of data about this. If you give the money to someone that has to give your money to someone else, okay, then in a sense this guy embeds some. So I thought, look, maybe one of the reasons why the intermediary instead is giving exactly to the recipient what the recipient deserves is because of guilt aversion. Okay, and actually the model is very simple. The intermediary can feel guilty toward the recipient. Okay, so basically Luca is giving me the money for me to give them to Andrea. Okay. Actually, it's the nice example because he's a poor postdoctoral student.
I don't think so.
But the thing is that if I feel guilty towards Andrea, because Andrea is expecting me to get some of this money or all this money. Okay, so if I feel guilty towards Andrea, then I'm going to give Andrea what he deserves. Okay? So if I have to apply the model of Battigalian-Diouf, where basically the only thing that matters is Andrea's expectation about my choice of giving to him. So Luca's expectation about me, they're not captured by this model because I'm not affecting the payoff for Luca, because Luca is giving me the money, full stop. He has lost the money. Is it clear to everybody? So whenever we enter into this game in which Luca has made the choice of giving me the money, I should not care, according to this model, about his expectation about me, because the only guy that matters for my guilt aversion is the one that is affected from a monetary point of view. That is the recipient. Okay. So our first extension is that we show experimentally, and we have an extension of the previous model, that even though you are not affected monetarily by my choice, I can feel guilty towards you. So we model guilt aversion by extending the previous model. I'm going to show you this in a moment. Okay, by measuring the expectation of the donor toward the intermediary about what I'm giving to the other. Okay, so we extended guilt aversion, the belief-dependent one, to a situation in which I care about the expectation about me or someone that is not affected monetarily. What Luca was saying at the beginning is the right point. Okay, so even though someone is not affected by, I'm affecting his expectation about me. Okay, I'm disappointing not him from a monetary point of view, but from a belief point of view. Okay, so this is very nice because we find that independently of the fact that you condition the choice of the intermediary according to the expectation of the donor or the expectation of the recipient, you find the same level of guilt aversion. This was made between subjects. Okay, so in what treatment we're asking the intermediary to choose according to different beliefs of the donor. In another treatment with different subjects, we're asking the intermediary to choose according to the expectation of the recipient. We find the same level of guilt aversion. I'm not talking about this design because it's exactly the same design I'm using for this extension. Okay, so I'm going to discuss the design later. And the design we are using is not our design, it's the design about another. So if you are with me, I can go on and I can tell you which is the motivational disparity. So what we find is that you don't need someone to be affected monetarily for the guy making the choice to feel guilt averse. You just have to disappoint his expectation, okay, about the monetary payoff of someone else. Now,
so still the expectation is about it's a second order expectation about payoff of someone else.
Yes, right. You need the monetary
of someone.
Of someone, yes, yes.
Not simply the action.
Okay, you got the point actually, because vulnerability, that is the new concept that you introduced in this paper, it's exactly about that. Okay, maybe you can disappoint someone just because you're doing something that this guy does not like, even though it's not affected monetarily, even though the other is not affected monetarily. Okay, let me show you which are therefore the two definitions, okay? So, what Luca was introducing is the difference between exposed vulnerability and ex-ante vulnerability, okay? So basically, in the example that we made, if the opponent choice affects the player's final payoff, okay, it's exactly what the recipient feels, that the recipient in this game is exposed vulnerable. While instead, okay, the donor is ex-ante vulnerable, because you can manage, you're the one in charge, having the decision right about his initial endowment, okay? So to be more precise about your question, actually, it is true that even in this case, you feel ex-ante vulnerable because you know that you're giving the money to someone else and this guy is managing the money for you, okay? But you have always a third player that is affected by your monetary, your decision. So what I told you before is not totally true, but we can discuss this at the end, okay? Now, look at the 4 games. So maybe, I think instead of going into this discussion, okay, I would like to show you which are the 4 games we are talking about, okay? Just a moment, I'm going to switch to the other slides, okay? So, this is the embezzlement game. It is very similar to the one that we have in the other paper. So look at the way in which it works. So, player A has 170 AQs, okay? Experimental currency unit, so this is translated to 10 AQs, 1 euro. Okay, so it's like it has, the donor has 17 euros, the intermediary has 10 euros, and the third player, the poor guy, has 3 euros. Okay. Now, in this paper, we don't call them donor, recipient. Okay, they are called just A and B. And again, C is a passive player. Okay, so C is a passive player. Okay. Now, let me show you how the game works. Okay, it works in the following way. This is remember, it's the same game that I showed you before. Okay, with a different, and now we are manipulating these 4 payoffs. Let me show you how it works. Okay. If player A chooses in, basically every time, what happens is that there are 25 AQ that goes to player B. Okay, in this paper I'm not telling you who is giving to player B the 25 AQs, because it's exactly what we're manipulating. Sometimes it's player A getting this money and giving them to player B. Sometimes player A is deciding for player C, giving the money to player B. And then sometimes player B has to decide whether to give, so the nice choice is right. It's like giving back the money to A or C. And in this case, he embezzles the money. Okay. Now, the rules that are always the same are the following ones. This is a very crucial thing, and let me tell you why. Okay. In order to generate, and this is the reason why I was citing the paper of Julia and Luca at the beginning, there is also a norm. Maybe there is a confound about why you want to do that. Okay. Basically, every money, every AQ you're going to keep for yourself is not going to be multiplied. Well, instead, every money you're giving to the other is going to be multiplied by 2, okay? And the idea is behind the initial paper about embezzlement that Marie Claire has, okay, with Mark Willinger and other important experimental economists. The idea is that you want to induce guilt, because in the neutral environment of a laboratory, okay, you have to ask yourself, why I have to give money to a third player who is doing nothing, okay? So in order to generate a norm, you tell that everything that you are going to embezzle is going to be kept for yourself without a multiplication. Okay, so in choosing left means getting for you 20 of these AQs and giving the other 5, and this 5 multiplied by 2. Okay.
It is like a sort of nested trust game, right?
Yeah. So
you receive some endowment and then you decide whether to invest or not.
Right. I'm going to talk about the trust game in a moment. Okay. One instead, if you choose right, these 25 are going to be multiplied by 2, and they're going either to A or to C. Okay. Now, let me call back. So all the 4 games I'm going to show you, they have these properties. Okay. The 4 things that change are who. So whenever A chooses in 2 cases, it takes the 25 from here. In 2 cases, it takes the 25 from here, from C. And when player B chooses left, right, okay, in 1 case he gives back the money to A, so it goes here. In other case, they go to C. Okay. Let me go to the 4 games because I think it's much simpler like that. Now, this is the game that you know, the investment game, okay, or trust game. Okay. How does it work? Player C is just an external observer. So we know the trust game is like that, no? You take out 30, 30, and 30. You see the payoff for player C is not affected. So basically, player A is giving 25 to player B. If he grabs, like embezzles the money, he takes 20 for himself. Okay, so 100 plus 20. And he gives back to the other just 5 multiplied by 2, 10. Why you have 155? Because he has lost 25, so 135 plus 10, 145, 150. So he lost 25, 145 plus 10. Given back, he goes there. Okay. Otherwise, he's going to get 195. Why? The other, you see, is not getting anything. It's giving everything to the other, to player A. So 170 minus 25, 145. This 25 multiplied by 250, 145 plus 50, 195. This is the standard trust game or investing game in which this is just an external observer. Okay. We know that there is guilt aversion in this game. We also have a paper about that. Then we can discuss about whether it's normative guilt. But we know that the more you think that player A think you're going to choose right, the more you're going to choose right, because you don't want to disappoint his expectation about his own payoff. Okay. Now the novel thing that you have in the other paper is this kind of thing. Is the donation game or embezzlement game. Basically, player A is giving 25 to player B, and you see his payoff is not affected because the 25 they have to go to player C. Then, if he embezzles the 25, you see, he's getting, if he embezzles the 20 over 25, he's getting 20 for himself, and then 5 plus 2 multiplied by 2, they go to the other, so instead of 30, he's going to take 40. While if I give all the 25 plus multiplied by 2, we go to the other 8. Okay. What we have in the other paper, we find, and it's nice, so we just have this game, that if you condition the choice of B on what player C expects about him, the more you think player C is choosing right, the more he chooses right. And this is in the theory of guilt aversion. Okay. The another thing is that the more player B thinks that player A thinks he's going to choose right, is not affected economically. Whenever he enters this subgame, then he takes 145. Okay. The more player B thinks that A thinks he's going to choose right, the more he chooses right. And this is an extension, a very light one. Okay. Even Battigalli and Dufresne, they say this model is not omnicomprehensive. Okay. And in fact, we show that even though player A is not affected by from a monetary point of view by the choice of player B, then he cares about the utility of player C. And actually we elicit the altruism of player A, okay? Because if you think about that, player A choosing in, apart if he didn't understand the game, it should have some kind of altruism, because choices in is going to diminish his payoff independently of the choice of player B. Okay? So an altruistic player A. And it's nice also because we check that player A chooses in the more they think that player B is going to choose right. Okay, so they're not doing that just because they are in a laboratory experiment and then there is an experimental demand effect, and then you're given some endowment, you are the richer one. You say, okay, why you're asking me to choose in? I'm going to do that just because you're asking me something, okay? Because it's stupid to choose out. No, we elicit their first order beliefs, and we find that player A choosing in are those expecting more player B choosing right. Okay. Yes.
So the novelty here is that the B player cares about the expectations of A about someone else's payoff.
Right.
Okay.
So it's a 3-player game with just 2-player active. And guilt aversion, up to this paper, I didn't say anything. I mean, in the model of Battigalli and Dufresne, then I'm sure that if you look at the literature or norms, I mean, look at, you see, even without looking at the game, it was telling me what is the novelty of this game, because player A is not affected monetarily, but it's like, I say, it's a kind of belief-dependent norm, because it's not that player A chooses in whatever he thinks about player B, but the more he thinks player B is going to choose right, the more he chooses. Okay. Now, which is the research question of this paper? Okay, we want to go onward, and manipulate this game in a direction in which we have the reverse. It's like player B caring about the expectation of player C if he's going to do something about player A. Okay? And it can be something nice or something bad. Because basically what happens is that from a theoretical point of view, the model is always the same. Okay? The model is, I care about the expectation about someone, about his own payoff, or I care about the expectation about someone, about the payoff of the other. Okay? So we're going to check whether this feeling of guilt aversion, it's like we are going to look at what the other think about you, okay, is independent of the specific, let me call it sub-feeling, because you're going to see there is a game in which even defining what is guilt, it's quite difficult, okay? And then we are going to be surprised to think about the results as we were at the initial beginning, okay? So, look at these other two games, okay? So, we have the investment one, and we have the donation one. Now look at the reverse investment, okay? So, the reverse investment game is the same as the investment game, but with player A as an observer. You see? Player A is not affected from a monetary point of view. And remember that in each of these games we have two treatments. One in which we ask what player B is going to do according to the expectation of player A, one in which is going to be conditional to the expectation of player C. Now, I know it's a weird... Yes?
This treatment you're going to explain later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now, I know it's a weird game, okay, but we are manipulating the game by leaving this, and this always the same. The initial endowment always the same. The choice in is always involving 25 AQs, and here you are grabbing 20 and giving 5 plus multiplied by 2 to the other. Here you are giving everything to the other. Okay. This game it's weird because think about this. Player C in every game, because they should be strategically equivalent. Okay, player C is always a passive player. So here it's player A choosing in, and by choosing in, he's taking 25 AQs from player A, from player C, and basically if you give it back to player C, it's going to be 55, now because it's 30 minus 25, 5, and then if he gives back everything, it's 25 multiplied by 2, 55. If he grabs the 20, then he's going to be left with 15. Why? 30 minus 25, 5. 5 multiplied by 2, 10, then 15. Okay? Why we are doing that? Because if you think about vulnerability, no? Ex ante and ex post. Now, what's happening is that here, player C is both ex ante and ex post vulnerable because player A is giving the power to player B. So player B here is managing the money of player C and is deciding also the payoff for player C. So here you are charging this kind of vulnerability. Okay. Now look at the last game. This is the most weird one. Okay, exploitation game, and this is I think the key point because here because I mean I think that everybody agrees here that in the reverse investment we should not find, I mean, there is no theoretical prediction about the past. Empirically, if it is just the expectation about the other that cares no matter to whom is going to pay off, player B should feel guilty, both towards player A, because why player A is sending this money to me? To give them to me that I'm already richer than player B, than player C, or to give them to player C, okay? So it's the same kind of thing as the investment game, okay? I get some money, I should give them, and actually should feel even more guilty maybe, because this guy is poorer than him, no? Why instead in the investment game, this guy is richer. And then he should feel guilty even much more to player C with respect to the investment game, because in the investment game it's just the payoff of player C. But here it's also the money, the initial endowment of player C that is involved. Yes?
Could be also ambiguity, right? Can the A be grabbing money from C to give it to B for him? Right? Can be altruistic toward B, not toward C.
Yeah, actually,
from the B point of view, it's ambiguous.
So in each of these games, actually, we try to maintain the same Pareto ranking among players. So as you notice, whatever the choice of player B or the choice of player A, there is always player A richer than player B, richer than player C. So we try to minimize this effect by never changing the order of wealth at the end of the game, independently of the players. But I totally agree with you. So player B can think, and it's like really the research question. In a game in which now it's not clear, it's not so clear cut, which are the intentions, because, sorry, I didn't say this at the beginning, but belief-dependent motivation, they depend on the perceived intention of player B about player A, okay? In the other two games, the perception are clear, no? Because if you go back to the investing game, why is giving the money to me? Because you're expecting me to give them back something, everything, okay? Why is giving the money to me? Because you expect me to give them to player B, okay? Here, you're right, it can be something where I say, so maybe you just want to punish player C, I don't know for which reason, okay? So, but again, the most direct feeling is he wants me to increase, because remember, it's at no cost for player A and player B, okay? So, I think that still in this game, we're going to see the following one, okay? But still in this game, it's very simple to understand this intention of player A, okay? He's trying to move from that situation in which we are 170 and 130 to a weekly Pareto superior situation in which is 170, 155, okay? Now, the last game, it is the most weird one, okay? In which player A is taking the money of player C, is giving the money to player B, and then player B has to decide whether to share what player A has grabbed to player C, or to give them to player C. So, you take the 15 to 25 from player C. You see? Player C is not affected anymore. So, player B towards player C, towards player B is just ex ante vulnerable, because I'm managing the money of player C. Then you think, why player A has done this? Okay? Because if you reason in the same way of the other game, you say, you wanted to increase his payoff, I'm just his worker, okay? And so I have to go here and to give the 50 more to him, okay? Or you can become, you say, you know, he has grabbed the money of player C, now I'm going to get the 20, and I'm going to give him the 10 more, okay? This exploitation game is the most weird one, okay? And let me anticipate something, because maybe at the end I'm going to be late for the result. But the idea is that we find that in each of these 4 games, in which I think that you understood that are very different in terms of intention of who is vulnerable to whom, okay, we find the same fraction of guilt-averse players independently of the strategic situation I'm showing to you. Okay, so the final say I'm going to give you about these 4 games is that maybe, and it's a statement that goes in the direction of game theories, I would say, and of logics, okay? The idea is that maybe it's the strategic structure of the game itself, given there are like 2 sub-games and you are the only one making the decision in this sub-game, in this trust game, okay? Whenever there is someone giving you the power of choice, then you feel guilty if you don't choose in the direction of the guilty. Also, if he chooses right. This is weird, right? Because player C is not affected. It's just an external observer that is punished by player A, but still player B thinks that he should feel, I mean, it's an interpretation, okay? He chooses right more if he thinks that player B thinks he should choose right more, okay? You're going to see that the experimental design is kind of fictitious about that. It's a paper about Kalmeski et al. Published in Journal Economic Theory. It's kind of a belief-dependent strategy method. Okay, I'm going to talk about this in a moment. It's a key point to our experiment. But then, just to come back to the version of the slide. So, the idea is that, let me go on because otherwise I'm not going. So, the idea is that you have a, let me go back here. Okay, so in this game, it is the donation game, okay? This is ex ante and ex post vulnerability, okay? So this is the definition of vulnerability. So, in the donation game, player A is giving you his money, okay? So, it's ex ante vulnerable, okay? But it's not ex post vulnerable because you're giving the money to player C or not, okay? So, if you look at this situation, okay? The exploitation game is that you have the money taken from player C, okay, And then the money can go to player A. So in a sense, it's player C money, so it's ex ante vulnerable. Okay. But the only one that is exposed vulnerable is player A, because you cannot give back the money to player C. Either they go to yourself or they go to player A. Then you have the standard investment game, in which you know that player A is giving you your money, and it's also vulnerable from an exposed point of view. Okay, but and this is the game that I showed. This is the reason why we call it reverse investment, because it's player A, player C ex ante vulnerable, because it's player A deciding to give you his money, and then you can give them. So basically, just to summarize, okay, here you have player C that is exposed vulnerable and ex ante vulnerable. Here you have player A that is exposed vulnerable and ex ante vulnerable. Okay, here you have one of the two that is ex ante, the other exposed, and the same is here by inverting the roles. Okay, this justifies the experimental design. Okay, and the reason why you have the role of vulnerability, but this is just an interpretation. We are going to show you at the end that the percentage of guilt-averse people in these four treatments is more or less the same. Okay, now the experimental design. So that, okay. Now, it is a mixture between subject and within subject design. Okay. What we do is that every subject in our experiment, okay, it goes through the 4 games. Okay, the roles are always the same. Basically, we have sessions, for example, with 27 people. And why? I didn't put it in the slide, but I'm going to show you in a moment what is, let me see. Okay, I don't have it in the slide. Okay, but the way in which we elicit the choice of player A, player B, and player C. Okay, we took these from a paper by Kalmeski, Okenfels, and Werner. Okay, that is published in Journal Economic Theory. So it works in the following way: it's a belief-dependent strategy method. Okay, basically you have 27 people in the lab. Okay, then you're assigned a role. You are A, B, or C. Okay, you ask each player A and each player C to tell you how many over 3 player B in the room, randomly chosen, they're going to choose right. Okay, so you tell them, look, there are 9 player A, 9 player B, and 9 player C. Over the 9 player B, you are going to take randomly 3 player B. Okay, how many of them you think are going to choose right? If you are okay with this guess, you're going to get €1 more. Okay, so basically it's the way in which there is beliefs. You just also in the paper implemented the same kind of thing. And then, in one treatment, you ask each intermediary to choose according to the belief of player A. You say, look, every player A was asked to guess how many of the 3 intermediaries coupled with him, okay, paired with him, they're going to choose right. If you think that he has said 0 over 3, what you're going to do? If you think that he has guessed 1 over 3, what you're going to do? If you think that he guessed 2 over 3, what he's going to do? What you're going to do? If you guess 3 over 3, and you know that in that case is sure, because you're one of the 3, that you're going to do that, what you're going to do? Okay, so basically, this is called belief-dependent strategy method. So you're going to indicate, I don't know, left, 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 and right. This is a kind of guilt-averse guy, because the more you think the other thinks he's going to do right, the more he chooses right. Okay, or left, 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 and left. You suppose this is a selfish guy. Right, 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 right is a fairness guy or an equity averse or whatever you want. So it's like distribution of yes and no. Independent of what the other thinks, you're going to choose always the same. Okay? Then you have those having the switch and the other way around, kind of reciprocity, like right, right, and then left, left. So if you think that I'm going to choose right, I'm going to choose left, and vice versa. And then you have like random thing like right, left, left, and right. We cannot rationalize. Okay. So this is within subjects. For each of these games, okay, the 4 games, we elicit the beliefs of player A and player C, and then we ask the intermediate player B to choose according to some beliefs. In one treatment, all these choices were made by player B according to the belief of player A. In another treatment, according to the belief of player C. I think you understand how crucial it is in each game the way that you ask beliefs about player A, to player B to choose according to the beliefs of player A or to player C, because there are games in which player C is just an external observer, like the investment game, and games in which player C is affected negatively by the choice of player A and player B cannot do anything for him. Okay, so we moved from a case in which is not vulnerable at all, the investment game, to a case in which is both ex ante and ex post vulnerable, the exploitation game. Or you can go to a situation in which player A is not vulnerable at all. It is the reverse investment game because it's taking the money of player C for you to give it back to player C. To a situation like the investment game in which is both ex ante and ex post vulnerable because it's sending you this money. Okay, so basically the nice thing of this vulnerability interpretation is that for both player A and player C, you can rank the 4 games in terms of not vulnerability or ex ante ex post vulnerability. So here, for player A, is not vulnerable in the reverse investment, is both ex ante and ex post vulnerable in the investment game. Okay, player C is not vulnerable in the investment game, is both ex ante and ex post vulnerable in the exploitation game. Okay. Now, and again, I want to anticipate the results. The nice thing is that independent of this manipulation, what matters, you're going to see, is the fact that player A is active and player C is not. Okay, but again, intentions matter in the sense that if there is, and we know this since there is another paper, for example, by Bellemare et al. So basically what happens is that if you're going to ask player B to choose between left and right in a dictator game without an initial choice by the other player, it's going to show some guilt aversion, but much less with respect to the trust game in which he's playing in the same game after the other has told him that he trusted him. Okay? So we know already this result that guilt aversion in the dictator player B in the dictator game without an initial move from player A is lower than guilt aversion in a trust game in which player A has given the possibility for player B to choose. Okay? But I think that in this case it's stronger because we are going to show in a moment, okay, that independently of the 4 strategic games, what matters more, independently of the fact that you're going to ask the beliefs to player A or to player C, okay, then it's the fact that player A has trusted you. Independently of the fact that he has trusted you to grab the money of player C, to give the money to player C, and so on and so forth. Questions about that? Yes.
Do you understand the belief you elicited of player C?
Yes.
So specifically, how you incentivize those since it doesn't act?
Okay, let me just make an example. So basically, think about it. Okay, let me find. Okay, this is the most weird game for player C. Okay, yeah, player C is just an observer. Okay, so we have this game both in treatment player A and treatment player C. Suppose that we are in treatment player C. Okay, we ask to each player, we tell each player C and each player A, you are paired with 3 player B. Okay, and then we ask player C to tell us, according to your belief, how many of these player B are choosing right? Okay. Again, it's a strategy method because it's independent of the fact that player A is choosing in or not. Okay.
Yes.
But if you are right in your guess, you're going to get one euro more. And then you use these beliefs in order to condition the choice of player B. Okay, so player B, instead of choosing right or left, is making a choice for each sort. 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, they choose. Then, I know, they can be...
So you choose with a strategy method?
Yeah,
so
it's called...
Suppose player C thought that 3 of you were going
Actually,
to...
it's a belief dependent study. I call it belief dependent study because it's a strategy method because player B is choosing independent of the fact that he doesn't know what player A has done.
But you don't transmit player C belief to player C belief to player B. No.
And then it's a belief dependent study because your choice is conditional on the beliefs. Then I understand that it's one of the critiques. It's one of the critiques of this paper, and I understand because we have chosen this methodology because it's one of the simplest. I mean, I have another one that is much more complicated, and I could have used that one, but this one is a problem. No? Maybe there can be an experimental demand effect because the fact that you show beliefs in a monotonic way, not 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, 2/3. You can show it to the other way around, but it's like it's requiring you to make a different choice. Okay, but you're going to see in a moment there are a lot of people not making that. But the important thing is that maybe there is a fixed effect of experimental demand effect, but you're going to see in a moment that the percentage of people making this monotonic choice of changing from left to right as beliefs increase is not depending on the treatment. And actually, I'm going to show in a moment, so it's not this one, it's the other one. Okay. So look at the results, so that because I think we're going too long, okay? So, I think this is the most important graph then I'm going to explain in a moment what I mean. Okay, so here you have a treatment A, in which player B are choosing according to the beliefs of player A. Okay, here you have treatment C, in which player B's are choosing according to the belief of player C. Okay, and here they are the same subjects as within subjects. Okay, but there are different subjects. And again, they're playing the 4 games with different order. And some of them are getting this game, then this game, then this game. We are controlling for the order effect. Okay, but it's between subjects among belief-dependent elicitation. So there are player B is choosing according to the beliefs of player A. Player B is choosing according to the beliefs of player C. Now, the blue guys are the selfish, the supposedly selfish. They're always choosing left. Okay. I mean, the light blue, okay, are the one always choosing right. We can call them like normative preference guy. I mean, because they're choosing right independent of the belief of the other. You see, are this one, no one here, somewhere here. Okay. Then, and again, I admit there can be a confound. Okay, but if you are guilt-averse, from a belief-dependent point of view, you cannot be in this group. You cannot be in this group. Why? Because for 0/3. You should choose left. If I think that player A think that none of the 3B is choosing right, I should not feel guilty because he doesn't trust me at all. Okay, so it cannot be the choice. Okay, the choice cannot be always left because you're not selfish. So at some point you should give something to the other. Okay, you have social preference, but it cannot be like that because in that case you can be still guilt-averse. We tell this in the other paper, but yeah, guilt-averse may be something else. You can be altruist, so you have a fixed thing, and then you start being guilt-averse, but you need some other social preferences, not only guilt-aversion, because otherwise for 0/3, you should choose left. If I think that Andrea thinks that I'm a bastard, I'm not going to feel guilty if I believe as a bastard. Okay, this is the definition of belief-dependent guilt-aversion. Then you have the guilt-averse one, that has the red one. Okay. At some point, they switch from left to right. Okay. And you see from here that, apart the donation game, I'm going to tell you this in a moment, okay, they are more or less the same. And the interesting thing is here. Okay. Remember the exploitation game. So maybe there we can talk about a norm. A weird norm, but it's a norm. Here I'm asking, if you think that player A think that you should choose red, and it's like giving him the money of player C, what you're going to do. And here I understand that, okay? So this guy has grabbed the money of player C, okay? And then if he expects you to give him back all the money, okay? Then you're going to do it. More and more, the more you think he trusts you. But look at here. So it's like the belief-dependent thing, okay, has a first-order effect with respect to the norm. Because here the norm is that, I mean, why? So there is a player C, okay? That is affected negatively by the choice of player A. Okay. Then someone is coming and telling me, you know, this player C thinks that you should choose that you are going, not you should. It's not a norm. You are going to choose right. What you are going to do? If the norm of getting back some of the money of player C is going to overcome this, you should not find this kind of person. Okay. Because I'm asking you what the guy who was grabbed by player A think about you. But even though the guy think that you should give to the bastard A all the money it is grabbed, I'm not going to do it because, I mean, this person should not exist here. Okay, you're going to get some of this money. Then again, you can tell me, yes, it's a weird norm because you're getting some of the money that player A is taking from player C. So it's like you're co-responsible of that. Okay, but still, the important thing is that it's belief-dependent reasoning, and it's not. I mean, this is not a paper about questioning which is the norm. Okay, it's a paper of checking, or whether by changing completely. I mean, you agree with me that from the donation to the exploitation, it's totally the other way around again. Because here the donation, player A is getting this money for player C. It's the embezzlement game. Yeah, instead it's taking the money of player C for himself. Yes.
Sorry to understand because I lost. So if you condition on the expectation of A, treatment A, and you're in exploitation game, the higher the expectation of A, the more B give back money to A.
For this money, for these people.
Yes. If you condition your expectation on B, the same. So the higher B expect me to
player C.
sorry, C to give to him. Sorry, to give less to A.
To give more to A.
More to A. So the guilt aversion in C is the same prediction of,
to me,
or is the opposite action?
No, it's the same prediction. So the most striking thing to me when I was looking at the result is this and this. Because just make an example. Here, player C is just an external observer. Okay, so I can justify that the expectation of player A cares more about him. No? Player A is giving me his money for me to give them back. And so what you think about me is more important than an external observer, because here player C is totally passive. No, it's became
just a
yeah. So here it's an external observer. So I understand this difference. You should feel less guilt. I mean, there is no theory predicting that. It's just an empirical thing. No? So I feel more guilty towards a guy that is both ex ante and ex post vulnerable, with respect to a guy that is not vulnerable either ex ante or ex post, because in the donation game it's a standard trust game. It's just an external observer. Okay, so this is okay, even though the significance of this difference is very low. It's the only significant difference that we found. Okay, then here we replicate the same kind of thing where it is. Sorry. Here it's not all those things. It's this one the most important thing, the investment game. So here player A is both ex ante and ex post vulnerable, and here player C is just an external observer. You are going to find the same. Here you find something that is even more striking than the previous paper, because in the previous paper we find the same level. Here people, they are more sensitive to that, okay, to guilt aversion with respect to the donor, with respect to the receiver. Okay, so this is not contradicting the previous paper, it's even reinforcing the result that we have in the previous paper. You care more about the expectation of someone that is not affected by my choice monetarily, then player C is passive. But I think that goes in the direction of the initial interpretation that I gave you, that the most important thing is what player A is going to do. If player A is giving you his money, okay, then even in the donation game in which his monetary payoff is not affected, you care more about his expectation and expectation of player C, okay? And I think that this effect is so striking that even in a game in which I'm going to ask you the expectation of player C, the fact that player A is giving you the property of the money of someone else, then you care about increasing the payoff of player A, even though I'm conditioning your choice to the beliefs of the guy that was negatively affected by this choice. So it's like, so suppose that you are grabbing the money of Andrea, okay? And then I ask Andrea, what do you think I'm going to do? And then Andrea is telling me, I think you're not going to give the money to him, you're going to take some of this money just for him not to get this money, okay? I'm going to take this money. But if he thinks,
will be left.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if he thinks that he says, no, what you have to do, I think that you should leave him the money, okay? So if you have a norm that you grab the money, you say, no, I'm not going to do that, okay? But these guys aren't doing that. If they think that player C thinks that should give all the money to player A, then they're doing exactly.
But it's not like that. If you think that if C expect most of B to give the money back,
yeah,
then player B feels relieved about this. That's okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to give money back. But it's sort of that you're legitimizing my being.
All these people are choosing for 3 over 3. They're choosing right. Otherwise, they're not. So they're switching from left to right at least for 3.
Yeah. The more you expect me to do it, the more I'm inclined to do it. It's like if most people expect me to take a bribe, I'm sort of okay with taking it. Which is not that I feel guilt averse.
This is the final. Actually, this is the final. Another one of the final conclusions that maybe it's not. We call it guilt aversion, but it's a kind of logical reasoning. No, if someone expects something from you, you should fulfill his preferences about you. This is not even guilt aversion. Why should you feel guilty of taking some of this money, given that the other?
Fulfilling the expectation of
others. And maybe this is like. I think the most, this paper just has empirical results. I'm going to show you which is the most interesting empirical results. That goes more, I said also your paper again, as I was telling you at the beginning. The main result is that while let's call them normative preference, okay, like distributional preference, they really depend on the strategic features of the game. Okay, for example, here look at the percentage of people that choose the nice action interest independently of the choice of the other, you see? And actually, if you look at the direction, you see there are two games, investment and exploitation, in which the percentage of these people choosing selfishly, okay, they are higher, okay, and I can expect this here because the other player has grabbed, okay, and while instead in the donation and then in the reverse investment, in which you can do something nice to player C, you see that the nice people are the blue one, they emerge a little bit, okay, so it's kind of normative preference. They really depend on the way in which you frame the game, on the way in which you frame the payoff. Well, instead, this belief-dependent reasoning, it's kind of independent, okay? And it looks like logical reasoning. So someone is giving me the power to manage some money, can be his money, his own money, okay? Then I can give this money to himself, to someone else, okay? This money comes from the bribe, but it's kind of like I'm in charge of something thanks to you. I'm going to care about what you expect about me and what someone else expects about me that I to do for you. Okay, and this is I think, the striking result here. Okay, now let me show you something. So what we did at some point, it's here. Okay, so we estimated. Oh, what is it? Okay, so basically we estimated the parameter of guilt aversion across the whole sample. Okay, this is a methodology that comes from a paper of Bellemare et al. 2011. Let me show you how it works. So basically, you take all the choices of all players of player B here in all the 8 games. Okay, so we take all the choices here. So basically, you have a lot of possible. So for each player B, you have 4 choices. Okay. 4 choices here, for 4 different beliefs, 4 different beliefs, 4 different beliefs, okay, all together. You see that the parameter that you estimate, so again, to make this structure estimation, you need a lot of choices, okay? And I know that some choices correlated, obviously, because you're choosing for different beliefs, and there are 4 choices for each player, okay? But there are plenty of choices. Then if you separate between treatment A and treatment B, you see that the estimated value of the parameter is more or less the same, okay? And then, and this is the most striking thing, if you disentangle across the 4 games by pooling player A and player C, I didn't have space to put also the slide for the 8 treatments separated, so you don't find any significant difference. It happens the same also in the other paper. So in the other paper, you don't find any significant difference between treatment A and treatment C for the donation game. Here, independently of the game, you more or less estimate the same parameter or of guilt aversion. So the final say is that is guilt aversion a constant trait, or it's because the laboratory is so cold? Because I mean, none of these games they were explained in terms player A is grabbing player C, okay? So they were all neutral games, okay? It's still guilt aversion, so exactly what I was discussing with Giuseppe. So maybe it's not even guilt aversion, it's a belief-dependent motivation that is activated every time which someone is giving you some kind of ex-ante or ex-post vulnerability, okay? And then is the first player choice inducing a different norm for different stage situation? What we find is that the takeaway message, according to our interpretation, is that belief-dependent preference seem more robust to variation in context than belief-independent or normative preference, in a sense, okay? And so the idea is that it is the reason why when Andrea invited me for this talk, okay, I was thinking about your paper, because what you're doing in your paper is exactly that. No? You take a modified version of this game in which you have also a hidden action, okay, the famous paper of Chinese survey. And it's nice because Stefan also has 2 papers about that, no? And this explored different manipulation because he uses the methodology of Bamberg to see whether, if I'm asking the beliefs, if I'm asking to choose according to the message of someone I'm playing with or someone else I'm not playing with. So basically it's doing more or less, it's a different manipulation, but basically you are perturbating this game now in several different dimensions. Okay, in your case you were questioning about what you call empirical guilt or belief-dependent guilt or normative guilt. Okay, is questioning whether what matters is the message of the guy I'm playing with, or a message of someone else that is kind of modifying my beliefs, my first or second belief. So what you find in this paper is that actually is a positive result for belief-dependent preference. Okay, actually, the take-away message is that maybe we are going to have some difficulty in defining which is the feeling behind this preference. Okay, but they are there. So even in situations in which you should not care at all about the beliefs of an external guy, okay, or in situation in which this guy is negatively affected, so you should behave independently of these beliefs, because basically if you think I have to do something against you because you were kind of already punished, I should not care at all, they emerge. And maybe it's a kind of logical thing that our social behavior, okay, or our kind of other regarding behavior is conditioned for many among us, okay, by belief-dependent preferences, even in situations in which it's difficult to define which is the feeling behind these belief-dependent preferences. I hope that I was
Thanks a lot. So we have some
condition for many among us, okay, by belief-dependent preferences, even in situations in which it's difficult to define which is.
If it's not guilt, what do you think it is? Because of course, you will feel guilty if you actually that the model says if you're not fulfilling someone's expectations, and it also has some monetary payoff. But as you found in the treatment exploitation,
yeah.
In that case, C is not affected. C's payoff are not affected. But still, B cares about his expectations, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you think it's can it be defined as guilt, a guilt version, or you think it's more like a norm? You want to fulfill someone's expectations, just other effects, even social image concern. Just dropping some other factors.
To me, the most important thing, as a behavioral guilt theorist, is that everything that you're talking about is belief dependent in some sense. Okay, so the idea is that what I think is that there are, as you can see, are not all B planes. Okay, then again, it's a parameterized experiment, so maybe the reason why we find such a high level of selfish people is because we should make this even more salient. I don't know, but the idea is that there is a subsample, a significant subsample of people, okay, that reasons in terms of what someone is expecting about me, independently of the norm or the feeling behind. Okay, so belief-dependent reasoning matters. I think that from a logical point of view, it's an interesting thing. Because when I started to work on this field, I was kind of astonished by the simple version of models about inequity aversion or world grow altruism that are very nice because they capture a lot of things with very simple reasoning. But instead, I thought at that time, and now I'm more and more convinced that the logical reason, the social intelligence reasoning and the logical reasoning about preference is much more complicated. Okay, I think that the result that we find is that whenever someone is making a choice, giving you some responsibility. Okay, maybe you can call. We framed everything in terms of vulnerability of the others, but maybe another possibility is to frame it in terms of if I'm responsible, if I'm in charge for something. Okay, do I care about what the others expect about me, independently of the vulnerability of the other? And I think that the nice result is that you reason in a belief-dependent way, because again, you can tell me why we don't have people reasoning the other way around, like this. Okay, if you see those switching from right to left, okay, there are very, very few. Okay, there are a lot here in the donation game. Okay, but in the game in which we are expecting them to do it to be the other way around, there are not so much. Okay, so first of all, reasoning in the guilt direction, okay, is much more relevant than reasoning in the other direction. Because I told you, this experimental design about Kalmeski is kind of experimental demand effect, because given that I'm giving you different choices for different beliefs, maybe people are choosing different things for different beliefs. But you see that those showing other patterns, these are like the random one, okay? Don't know how to interpret like left, right, left, or left, right. But if you put the two of them together, okay, they're always, apart from the donation game, okay, but they are always significantly smaller than the guilt averse ones, okay. And then I'm surprised about the fact that, because remember, like these people is within subjects and they're always the same. And these people, they're always the same, okay. But the second thing is that this does not depend on the on about whom I'm asking you to choose according to the beliefs of this guy, okay. And if you think about the starting point of this presentation, no? Because if you go back to the direction of to the literature view, okay, the beginning here, okay, we have a model in which we have shown already that we can separate this J and this J, okay. It can be the belief of player J about the payoff of player K, okay. Now we have shown that this idea, okay, of difference between what the guy expects to get from what you're giving to him, for several people, okay, because we're talking about 30% more or less of the sample, it does not even depend on the way in which this guy is getting this money. Whether he has grabbed the money from someone else, whether he wants to give the money to someone else. Actually, it looks like this belief-dependent reasoning is even not so connected to a specific feeling. This is the reason why you're questioning yourself. It was your question. Is this guilt aversion? I don't know. Maybe it's not even...
So can you go back to the exploitation game for a second? So practically in the game, you display the payoffs of the subjects to everyone, right?
Yeah.
What
it's a common knowledge.
Okay. So for example, the player C will see that. Let me get. Okay. In this game, player C sees he received 5, and then the other players will receive 180 and 120.
No, player C will receive 30.
Yeah, but what's like the final outcome?
Yeah, right.
So what do you think of just dropping, long discussion we had as to what I presented in Naples? What do you think what happened if C doesn't see the payoffs of the other players and B knows that? So you can sort of cover or isolate his social image concern.
Yeah, so
for example, he knows that he will receive 5, but B can anticipate the C doesn't know what he's getting.
Yeah, it would be a nice extension that is going to isolate this effect without social concern. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. Because what I expect is that, given this result, I would expect that you're going to get the same belief-dependent thing, independently also the fact that you have isolated social concern. In a sense, it would be a nice extension. I didn't think about this. Yeah,
if you compare the two, then you can sort of.
Let me show you something even more crucial. Okay, this kind of thing. Look at the way in which player A thinks. Because I didn't talk about player A. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the paper is about player B. But look, so player A, in a sense, if I look at the donation and in the investment game, they're very coherent. Now, because this is the percentage of those choosing in. This you're doing that for yourself at your own risk. And these are the altruistic people, no? Because remember that here there is this part that should go here, no? Maybe. But these two games are independent, because here you're risking your own money for yourself, here you're risking your own money for someone else. So it's for sure should be lower, okay? Look at here, the reverse investment game. Here you don't risk your own money, you're taking the money of player C for himself. So in a sense, it's like, remember that it's within subject, okay? Even though I'm pulling the two treatment, okay? But these guys, they should be here, no? Because they think that player C should get more than the 30. So if they're willing to give their own money to player C, they should try also to increase their payoff of players. Okay, but look at what they do here. So wherever they are the same guys, okay, but wherever they can grab the money of players C, they're going to do it. Okay, so the reason why this result, the one about player B, okay, cannot look so astonishing. You can tell me no. These player Bs, they are more or less doing the same kind of thing according to the games. No, they're doing the same kind of thing because I'm asking them always the same beliefs. But player A, they're really believing in a different way according to a different game. Because here, they show me that they want player C to get more, but then they're willing to get, where is it, in. Because if they do in here, they're getting the money player C. And they are the same, I mean, there is a percentage of these that are here. Okay? But those that are selfish, they're exactly acting as they should. No? This guy is going out because they don't want to give the money to player C. They're getting the money of player C when they can. Okay? And then where they're not involved, they're showing some kind of altruism because they're not touching their own money. And then these are those that they take the risk. Okay, so in a sense, player A are reacting to the strategic situation according to the way it should, according to their social preference. Okay, while instead player B, independent of the strategic situation, you see that there is a constant behavior across different strategic situations. And so, now, to make a general point, maybe it's the fact that you are in charge of the money, okay, here, that independent of what I'm going to put here, then you always think that you have to choose right the more someone thinks that you have to choose right. Okay. So this is the reason why I think that even the title of the paper of Chandler's for principal agent problem, okay. So it really looks like the principal is giving you the responsibility of the money, and independent of the fact that the principal has grabbed the money by someone else, it's their own money, okay, you should go in the direction of what the principal is telling you. So even these
not according to the
not only the
C
principal.
treatment, right?
Also
in the C treatment it goes always in the direction of choosing the best for A.
Yes, independent.
But the belief are of C.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's
right. So in essence, you're right. So independently of whom generates this belief about you, you feel that your role is to fulfill the expectations.
Yeah.
And again, I think that going in this direction and generalizing by doing a study which we isolate social image according to the treatment, to the design that we presented in Naples, is going to create a refinement of this result because you're going to take out some of the potential confounds. So it means like going.
Why confounds? Because if you're not sure that it's because of guilt aversion, then so here it's because of expectations, right? Expectations can be because of guilt aversion, can be because of social norms.
Yeah, right.
So you don't have one specific explanation, right, for the results. So
no.
Also expectations can be also social image concerns. So
right. No, so the only thing that you're testing is that, I mean, this ex-ante and exposed vulnerability does not work because otherwise, okay, for player A in the invest, so basically you should find investment in player A lot of player B choosing right, and you should find in reverse investment for player C a lot of player B choosing right, okay, independent of this belief thing or not, okay. So basically in the graph I'm going to show you, you should find two histograms, like the one in donation for player, investment for player A, with respect to the belief of player A, and reverse investment with respect to the belief of player C that are the highest one, and then the other they are lowest. So basically, according to the result, you should find a lot of blue and red here, actually, a lot of blue and red here, and then the others, sorry, here, in the investment, because here your A is both ex-ante and exposed vulnerable, and here player A is taking the money of player C, and then they are vulnerable also exposed. So here in there you should find a higher level of altruism or social norms. But it's not like that. Yes?
Yeah, okay. So, thank you, Giuseppe, because it's a super rich
Maybe it's too rich.
project. No, I mean, it needs lot of. I would like to see the paper that I guess you already have.
No.
I mean, as soon as you have it, because I really would
analyze. Yes.
But I want to make a more general comment.
Yeah, right.
Not on the detail of this, because not everything is clear, but I was wondering about this. So maybe just to align our perspective. So you tend to. So I have a general remark on the idea that belief-dependent preferences and guilt aversion is a social preference. This is from the very beginning has been conceptualized as maybe because of Rabin, I don't know, it was conceived as a variant of social preference, not distributional preferences, but okay. And this paper, I think, in a sense, the main result is that it doesn't really make a lot of sense from the point of view of social preferences.
Yeah.
Although you find consistently that belief matters, they affect behavior in a, let's say, in a causal way for someone, for a percentage of people. They don't seem to be rationalizable in terms of social concern, I think. And this, I think this is perfectly fine with us in the sense that our own project was on the idea, and other people, but on the idea of the social norms as potential influence on individual behavior, where the way we understand these normative influence is not the way you do. So you tend to say, okay, here are some people that tend to be altruistic or cooperative no matter what the other believe about them. No? These are norm-based preferences. It's a good way to do it, to say. Yeah. But it suggests the idea that some people are good because they've internalized a sort of norm of being cooperative or being good. Okay. That's not our sense of norm, which that is there. Typically, it's the moral preferences, moral norm, whatever. It's not what we do. What we are interested in is the idea that you are subtly, unconsciously attuned to what people around you expect from you, and you tend to behave in a way that align your behavior with what the others expect from you. So it's this kind of pattern. Although you don't realize it, it's not deliberation about it, but still you tend to conform to the expectation. And the idea of social norm is this one, is the fact that you are conditioned, your behavior, your preferences are conditioned on what is expected in the community or in the context. So it's not your sense of norm preference. So that's one point. So when we start our own investigation of psychological game theory, was especially prompted by this comment, very brief comment by Charles and Duffenberg in that paper, that they say guilt aversion, because it focuses on the, it's a motivation which is dependent on the expectation of others, could provide a micro foundation for non-compliance, no? Because norms are, after all, are just social expectation, right? So it's not Andrea expectation, it's a general expectation, but the idea is similar. And I agree, we agree. So the point is exactly that our behavior, our motivation to do something, it's conditional, it's influenced by this preference, which are not the, Andrea's preference, maybe a sort of general expectation. Okay. So this is what is in common. It's there. I think our paper was sort of saying, I mean, I'm not really convinced myself, but that it's not the empirical expectation of others, but it's the normative expectation of the others. I don't know about this, but the point is that we are, let's say, influenced by what others expect of us. This is not, however, a social preference, not in the classical guilt aversion way to think about it. So that basically I care about what you think, or I care about what you expect to get, so the expectation of your payoff, and I think you show with this, so this is in a sense a problem for psychological game theory, I think, because you are showing that this social preference idea, it doesn't really make sense. Even if you generalize and you say, okay, I care about A expectation, but not his a payoff expectation, but still in the end, it's an expectation about an expectation of payoff. So you're trying to force all this pattern on these. So the idea of generalizing the expectation belief doesn't seems. The problem there is that you are focusing on social preference.
I mean, I totally agree with your point. Apart from the last sentence, because so psychological game theory is a tool.
Yeah.
And actually, basically, the thing that it pretends is that beliefs, instead of having just an indirect role or prediction of what the other is doing, as a direct role, there's a value for you.
That's fine.
So I agree that this paper is kind of providing a negative result for those that think that every time in which you have a belief-dependent relation, you need a feeling justifying this.
Well, I think what you show is that you may be, if I understood correctly your result, you may be influenced by what someone is expecting you to do, even if it doesn't really affect his payoff. So you don't care about him, so you're not care about the effect of your action on his welfare, even if it's not his material welfare, but it's predicted welfare. You don't care about it at all. What you care is about his belief.
Yeah.
So this is something which it's in line what we are in.
I think we all agree about that. So I think that the link. I mean,
but then you have to drop the idea that social guilt, let's say, belief-dependent preferences are social preferences. They can be.
Yeah, they can be. Yeah.
But you can use this toolkit for model different kind of.
Yeah, actually, I think that the main confound that is in the literature in this moment is that. So it comes especially from the paper of Esther. No? Esther is this nice paper, 1998, in which she says, no, the majority of feelings they are belief dependent, and then it makes a long list in which she puts like guilt, shame, regret, disappointment, frustration. No? And then the reason why I think experimental economy started to be interested in this kind of things is because they were, are those working in social preference. Now, why instead, if you read the paper about legal movement, it is a theoretical paper, it says, actually, preferences are belief dependent because they can depend on the belief about the choice, but also about the information set of the other. Actually, they make a lot of lists. It's not just the choice of the other. Even the fact that you believe something about the other, they believe about you. So actually, it's even independent of the choice itself. Now, and if you look at the paper of Chemicopoulos Pieces Stacchet, the initial paper, actually a nice example is the one which you have to go out with a girl, and you want to surprise her. No? She can expect that you give her chocolate or flour, and if she expects flour, you're going to give her chocolate. And if she suspects chocolate, you're going to give her flour with no equilibrium. It's just a mixed equilibrium. I think that the reason why this interpretation of psychological game theory, like a theory of social preference, comes from the fact that experimental economists, they don't really look. It's the reason why I think you have a clear, you all have clear ideas about that. What is the idea that psychological game theory is a theory of social preference? Is just, I think, an additional statement that is a false statement. And I agree that maybe some experimental economists can tell me the reason why you're not able to find an emotion or a feeling behind that is because you don't know the theory of emotion. So I'm going to construct an emotion that's going to justify that. Okay, this is not my point. My point as behavioral game theory is that we really need a theory of belief-dependent preferences to capture also these people that emerge even when you don't expect them to emerge. No? Because the idea is that here you should not care about the preference, like here you should not care about the preference of player C. Okay, then Andrea, it calls this social image, maybe, but it's a belief-dependent social image in the sense that the social image, as we're saying, like the theory of conformism, depends on the fact that someone is
some expectation.
Yeah, that someone has some expectation about you. So the only thing that I care, and I think psychological game theories care, is like the need of introducing beliefs in the utility function. Then the link with social preference, I think it is, and again, is one of the reasons that when I present my papers about psychological games, I always say that the negative part of this theory is that with belief-dependent preference, you can justify any kind of social preference. No, I could have presented this paper by telling you, I've discovered a new social preference that is belief-dependent here, okay? Because given that you always have multiplicity of equilibrium, you can rationalize a lot of experimental results, much more than you can do with distributional preference or normative preference, because you are always, with norms, you're always obliged to give a prediction that is about a unique equilibrium if the parameter, if your sensitivity is high enough. No? With belief-dependent preference, you always have multiple equilibrium, no? Because they depend on two parameters, the beliefs and the sensitivity to this field. No? So I totally agree with your point, But I mean, I still make the point that the belief-dependent theory, I mean, game theoretical model, is needed to capture what you cannot capture without putting the beliefs in the utility function. This is the only. And actually,
I don't think that there is, at least with us, there's no disagreement on this.
No.
Our point was about the social preference and the strong focus on the three people that are there. In a sense that you tend to focus on the expectation of that B, that A, and that C, and the social norm explanation is the idea that this the kind of expectation that are in that context are not really personal expectation, right? So more diffuse. Even other people playing for B in the role of B in the context. But the logic of psychological theory is perfectly fine, and the one we would like to apply to norm.
Yeah, for example, Stefan now has a paper in which he makes in-group versus out-group in Channes and Liebenberg class game. And it shows that the way in which, I mean, the fact that you have message, even by someone that is not an in-group, okay, so like can be like a first mover that is an out-group, is going to influence positively your second order beliefs much more than the fact that this guy is an out-group. Okay? So the idea that the message is coming from someone that is not from your group, and then your beliefs are influenced by something that should not be shifted by, it goes in the same direction. So the question is, which kind of feeling is that? So, but the only point on which the other thing we all share is that preferences can be very often belief dependent, even for situations in which it's not immediate to identify the social preference behind. So I think that belief-dependent preference can explain social preference, but the other way around, like the fact that for each social preference we have like a belief-dependent model that can explain this, it's very difficult to detect. Maybe
let me see if we are the same. So my point is that there are some belief-dependent preferences that are about the welfare of